Thanks to all the subscribers. Please like, subscribe, and comment. We're almost to 1,000. Really appreciate it. With that out of the way, let's get into it. The Rollin 20's Outlaw Bloods, Norfolk, Virginia. A gang party takes a tragic turn. The victim in this story is a young single mother, a woman who initially wanted to become a member of the gang, but she would later change her mind. That decision would permanently alter her young son's life and lead to a heinous near-death assault. Prosecutors claim Brandon Winnigan gave the green light for 9 members of the Rollin 20's Outlaw Bloods to assault the 21-year-old woman. The victim was recruited into a set of the Rollin 20's Outlaw Bloods, known as the Outlaws gang. Shortly after being jumped into the gang, the victim began receiving multiple disciplinary punishments, or DPs, which are physical attacks. The DP was issued for her inability to accurately recite gang information or properly follow orders. The night of April 23rd, 2020, the victim and her son arrived at Sadia Merck Brown's apartment, which also served as a headquarters of the Outlaws. Gang members and children were present at the apartment with the intention of the group having a movie night for the children while the adults partied. At one point during the evening, the victim received another DP and was assaulted by the female gang members present. Following that assault, the victim told Winnigan, the Outlaws set leader, that she wanted to leave the gang. After attempting to dissuade her, she insisted she wanted to leave. Winnigan then informed the rest of the gang members present about her intentions, which angered them immensely. The gang began assaulting the victim more brutally than before, and some members began insisting that the victim be killed for becoming a liability. Anger and rage filled the room. "Kill her, she's a liability," they shouted as they pummeled the woman. The victim was being beaten by people whom she once considered family. The victim attempted to leave the apartment with her son. Winnigan allowed the victim to exit the apartment, but she was forcefully walked by Watkins toward her car. Other gang members followed and surrounded the victim's vehicle with firearms. After the victim and her son got in her car, she realized that during the chaos, she left her keys in the apartment. Winnigan instructed her to stay put and keep her car locked before returning to the apartment to look for her keys. Hodges, a high-ranking female member of the Outlaws, took the victim's phone and started looking through the device. She shouted to the group that the victim was a snitch. Hodges attempted to destroy the victim's phone. Watkins tore through a plastic cover over the victim's broken back passenger window and dragged her out of the vehicle, taking her back toward the apartment. The victim's son was removed from the car and was returned to a room inside the apartment with the other children. Walker, who had left the apartment earlier in the evening, returned as the other gang members were threatening the victim outside. He was the leader of the Virginia Beach-based sex money murder gang. The Outlaws and SMM tied knots, which means to form an alliance. Walker spoke privately with Winnigan before the victim was forced back inside the apartment. The victim heard Walker while he distributed disposable gloves to the group, instructing them on how to eventually kill her. Walker then departed the apartment for the remainder of the night. The assault resumed with Winnigan punching the victim in the face violently and repeatedly and pistol whipping her numerous times, blooding her face. Winnigan then strangled the victim while the others pinned her to the floor. The more the victim drifted in and out of consciousness and showed signs of life, the more severe her beating became. Things escalated further and grew darker. The gang members took turns strangling her, torturing the young mother. They attempted to suffocate her with various household items. They took turns trying to snap her neck by twisting her head. They stabbed her around her midsection and poured bleach down her throat as she lay on the floor. Dirty work, as they say. As these attempts on the victim's life were being committed, Hodges and some others continued their efforts to destroy her cell phone and delete digital records of her contact with the gang. At one point during the assault, Hodges suggested that the group steal money from the victim's Cash App account while they still had her phone. Finally, the decision was made to shoot the victim. Winnigan gave Mitchell and Watkins the guns he received from Walker. Winnigan issued the order. He instructed them to take care of it. Mitchell and Watkins took the victim back to her vehicle and drove her several streets away from the apartment. Video from nearby home surveillance systems recorded them parking the vehicle at a dead end in the early morning hours of April 24th, 2020. The victim was shot multiple times in the car, with one bullet entering her right eye and exiting through her right ear. Mitchell and Watkins then placed the victim in the front seat of her car and left her for dead before walking back to the apartment. Again, being captured on video surveillance throwing away gloves they were wearing in a resident's trash can back at the apartment. The group decided against murdering the victim's son. They took the boy and loaded him into their vehicles to head toward a hotel in Portsmouth. En route, the group pushed the boy out of the car and drove away, leaving him to wander the neighborhood in the rain. A garbage truck driver later found the 2-year-old on their morning route and reported the incident. The boy's mother was found hours after being shot by a concerned neighbor who reported the occupied, yet stagnant vehicle to Norfolk police. Perfect. When officers arrived, the victim was severely disfigured to the point that they could not initially tell whether she was alive or how she had been injured. The victim lost her right eye and hearing in her right ear. She also suffers from lifelong neurological issues. Her son is also traumatized. He was put in foster care while his mother was getting medical care for her injuries. Prosecutors said the woman's son, though not physically injured by the suspects, will face the trauma from witnessing his mother's attack as he grows up. Brandon Cecil Winnigan, 34, of Newport News, pleaded guilty on April 14, 2022, to conspiring to commit malicious wounding, the use of a firearm in the commission of a felony abduction, participating in a criminal act for the benefit of a gang. Judge David W. Linetti sentenced Winnigan to life in prison plus 38 years. To Portia Fifth Lawless Hodges, 25, of Chesapeake, pleaded guilty on April 5, 2022. Judge Michelle J. Atkins sentenced Hodges to 51 years in prison with 30 years suspended, leaving an active sentence of 21 years. Xavier A. Too Much Walker, 26, of Virginia Beach, pleaded guilty on April 14, 2022. Judge Linetti sentenced Walker to 10 years in prison with 6 years suspended, leaving an active sentence of 4 years. Although there are convictions in this matter, I must stress that an indictment is not evidence of guilt. Charges are only allegations, and each defendant is presumed innocent unless and until proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe. Blessings. Luke 17, verses 3 and 4. If your brother sins, rebuke him, and if he repents, forgive him.